The things that you just put into the middle section of your Venn diagram are common in many myths. And so we might be able to find lots of different pieces that would fit into other myths besides just Cronus and Shrouded in Myths. We are going to be looking at different elements of mythology. In section 6, Elements of Myth, on page 18, I have an article about the key elements of mythology. And if we remember back into our section where we were doing guided questions about what good readers do before they read, when we look at approaching text, we're going to look over on this section today. Who is the author? What is the title? What type of text is it? Who published the text? And when was the text published? We're going to focus on this section right here. What is the title? So when we look at page 18, the title of this article is Key Elements of Mythology. And so when we are looking at that, we have to figure out what the word element means. And in this context, it means something that's important or typical. And that's going to become a little more clear as we read. So typical things of mythology. And so I'm going to read the opening sentence of this text. The universal appeal of myths is in part a result of elements that are typical or common across most myths. So we're seeing things that are common or typical. So that means things that are similar in all myths. So that would be like if we had a huge Venn diagram of all myths, what would kind of fit in the middle of all of them? These repeated elements include symbols, themes, patterns, and characters. Ooh, we have that word theme in there. That's really important because that's a word that we've been focusing on. These elements help to develop and communicate the theme of a myth. Common themes in myths include the struggle between the forces of good and evil, the quest of a hero, or the origin of some aspect of the natural world. And so we're going to see what these elements are. So we see tension between opposing forces in the universe. And so this is a description of each of these areas. And so what I want you to do is I want you to find the gist of each of these sections. And so what you can do is if you have the element and the description, you can just highlight this and then put a comment in. And remember, the gist is like just a short one sentence about the whole thing of what you get from the first reading of what this element and the description, what that really means. And just put a comment in here for each of these sections and see if we can find some repeated elements or symbols or themes, characters, and common words. After you have all your comments in, you are going to click Next in Canvas.